Origins of Swordsman. Beginning his career as a circus performer where he helped train a young Hawkeye, Jacques Duquesne later became the costumed mercenary swordsman. He joined the Avengers, at first for nefarious reasons, but soon resolved to become a true Avenger when he fell in love with Mantis. The first swordsman was Jacques Duquesne. Along with Trickshot he helped train the Avenger known as Hawkeye. Swordsman was caught stealing money from the circus where all three men worked as performers. Hawkeye attempted to report Swordsman to the police only for his one-time mentor to beat him half to death. Swordsman left the circus afterwards and began a career as a mercenary which subsequently saw him deported and exiled from several countries where he had committed crimes. The world-renowned adventurer and mercenary known as Swordsman came to the conclusion that if he was to join the Avengers, then by association he would be free to get away with all sorts of things. Breaking into Avengers Mansion, in a bid to impress the Avengers, Swordsman sought to show off his skills by engaging Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in battle. After the fight was interrupted and halted by Captain America, Swordsman made his desire to join the team known but was rejected by Captain America, who discovered that Swordsman had a dubious and questionable past. Afterwards, Hawkeye informed the Avengers of his own history with Swordsman, which only reinforced the team's belief he was nothing more than a petty criminal. Refusing to give up, the Swordsman tricked Captain America into meeting him in an abandoned warehouse where the two fought. Swordsman gained the upper hand and upon defeating Captain America, decided to tie him up and use him as a bargaining chip in a further petition to convince the Avengers to induct him. The rest of the Avengers were quick to defeat Swordsman and again refused to accept him onto the team and free Captain America from his ropes. Swordsman was then abducted by the Mandarin, who wished to ally himself with Swordsman in a scheme to destroy Iron Man and the Avengers once and for all. Initially reluctant, Swordsman was defeated by Mandarin and eventually rescinded and agreed to go along with the villain's plan, which involved him spying on the Avengers for him. The Avengers received a video message from Iron Man in which the original Avenger vouched for Swordsman and convinced the team to welcome Swordsman into their ranks, although they remained suspicious of Swordsman. When Swordsman learns of Mandarin's true plan to cowardly blow up the Avengers in their sleep, he attempts to intervene and stop the planned attack, but the Avengers misinterpret his actions and believe he is responsible for it. Unbeknownst to them, Swordsman saves their lives and is sharply ejected from the team, ironically after finally proving his worth and a legitimate desire to be an Avenger. This power unleashed, after his skirmish with the Avengers, Swordsman resigned from being a costumed adventurer and returned to working as a circus performer, which drew large audiences and the admiration of many lovely ladies. After one show, he was approached by the Russian operative Black Widow, who wished to ally with him in a plot to destroy the Avengers once and for all. Swordsman, wanting revenge on the team who spurned him and harboring a great attraction to the Widow herself, agreed to join her and her ally Power Man in their bid to destroy Earth's mightiest heroes. After ambushing Hawkeye and asserting his dominance over his former student, Swordsman later attacked Captain America at Avengers Mansion, wanting revenge for the latter beating him previously. Captain America was defeated when Power Man arrived and took him by surprise. Swordsman and Power Man likewise made short work of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, easily capturing and subduing them. However, they failed to take into account Goliath and Wasp, who had recently rejoined the Avengers. As the two returning Avengers attacked the villains' headquarters and freed their companions from captivity, the team battled intensely with Swordsman and Power Man, but unbeknownst to them the Black Widow activated a secret escape hatch, allowing them time to escape. Hawkeye was prepared to fire an arrow after them before the escape hatch closed, but upon noticing the Black Widow, the woman he loved, he failed to follow through and the villains escaped. Tensions between Swordsman and Power Man began to rise when they realized they both were attracted immensely to the Black Widow. The two villains fought amongst themselves as the Black Widow laughed at and mocked the idea that either of them think they have a chance with her, as she secretly loved Hawkeye, one of the men they were meant to be defeating. Embarrassed about having let the villains escape, Hawkeye insisted his fellow Avengers allow him to tackle the villains again by himself to make up for his failure to fire upon them in their last encounter. Hawkeye found the villains hiding in an abandoned warehouse and attacked them, quickly opting to make the floor beneath Power Man collapse by using an arrow and taking him out of the fray early on. Now alone with his former mentor, Hawkeye battled continuously and finally defeated Swordsman, proving once and for all that Swordsman is no longer Hawkeye's superior. After defeating Swordsman, Power Man was defeated with the aid of Black Widow, who realized she loved Hawkeye, and the two villains were left finished and betrayed by the woman they agreed to help. When Ares attacked Olympus in a bid to take control of the realm of the Olympian gods, the Avengers sent out a call for all their previous members to come to aid them in stopping Ares' plans. To the Avengers' surprise, Swordsman arrived, pointing out that he, too, was once an Avenger and he wishes to help. While Captain America and Hawkeye were reluctant to accept Swordsman's aid, Black Panther and Thor instead point out that Swordsman deserves a second chance. Swordsman fought alongside the Avengers against Ares' Warhawks, but following the defeat of Ares, he disappeared, presumably afraid the Avengers may force him to face retribution, face justice, and stand trial for his countless past crimes. Avengers Defenders War. For more details, Avengers Defenders War. Not long after joining the Avengers, Swordsman was fighting alongside the Avengers against the Defenders due to the machinations of Loki and Dormammu. Swordsman battled the Defender Valkyrie and was outclassed and defeated by the Asgardian warrior. Thanos War. For more details, Thanos War. Swordsman was one of the Avengers who aided in battle against Thanos, who had gained the Cosmic Cube and plotted to destroy Earth as a present to his beloved Death. Swordsman's hot temper initially brought him to blows with Drax the Destroyer, but the situation was too dire for the two to indulge in petty bickering. Swordsman, alongside some of the other Avengers, fought off Thanos' fleet but were ultimately trapped by Thanos, who used the Cosmic Cube to render them helpless to stop him by making them out of sync with the time. Upon Thanos' defeat, Swordsman and his fellow Avengers were freed from their exile from the time stream. Celestial Madonna. Searching for the Celestial Madonna in hopes of marrying her, Kong the Conqueror attacked and kidnapped the Avengers, however left Swordsman behind because he thought of him as having no worth as a hostage and posing no threat to him or his plans. Determined to prove his worth, Swordsman tracked down Kong and the captive Avengers and freed them. Upon discovering that Mantis was the Celestial Madonna, Kong opted to kill her so that nobody else could have her. As Mantis' life was threatened, Swordsman thrust himself forward and sacrificed himself to spare his love. He also marked the first Avenger to die. After his death, Swordsman was revived by the Katati and used on behalf of the Prime Katati to marry Mantis and father a son with her. After a battle with the Avengers a few years later, he crumbled to dust as the Katati saw no further use for his revival. Legion of the Unliving. After his death, Swordsman continued to appear most frequently as an adversary to the Avengers in the Legion of the Unliving. Regularly revived and brought into service of villains, his undead self has battled against both Hawkeye and Captain America, often citing feelings of being an outsider and never truly counting as an Avenger. Both times the undead Swordsman has been overpowered by his foes. The Crossing. Swordsman was also briefly reanimated by the Katati again during the Crossing. He sought to warn the Avengers of a coming evil when he came across his successor Philip Jarvert. The two, as well as the Vision, fought against Kang's henchmen and were defeated. The reanimated Swordsman was captured and taken away by the attackers and brought before Mantis, who was revealed to be working with Kong to drive Tony Stark to madness and have him murder his fellow Avengers. Later on into the storyline, as it entered its final stages, Stark regained some of his sanity and allied himself with the captive Swordsman. As the Swordsman intervened in a battle between the Avengers and Mantis, he implored them to see Mantis' better nature, how she used to be and how she was not totally beyond redemption. Mantis responded by killing Swordsman for violating and defiling her. It was later revealed by a dissatisfied writer that most of the characters involved with the crossing were space phantoms in disguise. Powers and abilities. He was well trained in acrobatics, with uncanny agility, and was considered one of the best swordsmen the world has ever known. Swordsman's sword was tampered with by the Mandarin using Mukluan technology. Similar to the Mandarin's power rings, the hilt of Swordsman's sword had various buttons which granted him some degree of elemental control, almost entirely in the form of shooting energy blasts of various types, as well as flames and gas.